Kerbal Space Program 1.7.1. Boy, we've come a long way since April 2013. In the alpha stage, it was interesting. We just had a big sandbox and it was confusing to new users, so they created a thing called a career mode. And this would introduce things to you slowly and make it feel more like a progression game, but it's not a game by any means. This is a real world 1/10 scale physics simulator. The world, our planetary body, is called Kerbal. Welcome to Kerbal. I'm just going to start a game and talk about it as we go through our little loading screens and such. So we start a new game. Now this is an unmodded, brand new, fresh preload start. So we're going to call this PASTEx. That's Pilot and Space Training Experience Xtreme. I'm going to pick a flag. I don't get too busy like that satellite one because it's got the sextagon, which we find that shape in nature. I'm going to start taking away things. Kerbals die permanently. Calm network. Kerbals die. Allow other launch sites. Yes. I don't like stock vessels. That needs to be updated. You can't even use the limited vessels until later in the game, so it doesn't make sense to me. Kerbals level up immediately. Give me something, take something away. That's called balance. Kerbal G-force. I turn this down. I like to see them pass out if I do the wrong thing. They really don't pass out till you get to larger planetary bodies. And you can always come in the middle of the game if it causes you a problem, like on Eve, which is powerful gravity. Put it back on normal. But I like to see the bar go up and down. Anyway, obey cross-feed rules. Yes, you can't send gas through metal. It has to have piping. Okay, always allow action groups. Part upgrades. Yes, yes. Plasma blackout, yes. Required signal. Extra ground stations, no. This will require us to build a satellite network. I apologize if I'm talking fast. It's just this video is going to be way too long if I don't get this thing going. It's incredible. But if you need a tutorial or want to see what's going on and want to see the fastest path to progress, I think my 4,700 hours experience could help us achieve this. So we have mission control at the Kerbal Space Center, and we want to launch our first vessel, accept and gather scientific data from Kerbin. We don't even have to leave the runway for that one. So we could do that separate, or we can do these together. I do them together. And I'm also going to try to level up, train Kerbals, and research and increase the value of our buildings through upgrades. So let's get right to it. This is basically about building craft. That's what we're doing here. And when we design the craft, and we have to build the craft, design the craft, and pilot the craft. So it's basically about engineering and piloting, but it's also about science, because if we didn't do these things, what good would it be? Okay, so I'm going to put 3 of those on there. You'll see why in a minute. I can use them all in the beginning, and then I'll go back to 2, and then eventually I won't need 1 for a while. So that's called mystery goo, and that is just the first experiment. So this is your first craft. They just don't give you any other parts, so it's the only way it can be. Now you can send Jebediah, but I like to send an engineer bill. Okay, I believe the engineer should get the first experience. But anyway, before we go, I want to take half the fuel and some of the thrust out of that. Looks like I did more than half. And the reason is I am going to attempt to land my craft into, now I forgot to do something called staging. I better do that right away before I forget. So common, where the parachute and the rocket goes off in the beginning. We have to fire the parachute at the end of the mission, or well, in the middle, and not in the beginning. So anyway, so we engineered the craft, and now we're going to pilot the craft, but we're also going to collect science. So this is really conducive to the STEM concepts that schools are pushing so hard right now. Observe mystery goo. Without explaining what that is, you can pause and read or experience it yourself. So I got that. I could get a crew report, but I'm going to save that for later. But I will get out of the capsule. I will get an extra vehicular activity report, get out and look around and go, oh yeah, look, air, cool. That's science. Science. Anyway, don't be blinded by the science. This is about flying the craft, the science, and coming home alive. The science we will collect if we can. It's the primary mission, but it's secondary to our protocol. Our protocol is us and life. That's why we have a parachute. Anyway, besides, who would bring the science home? So I'm going to fire and try to land in one of these areas over here. It's called a biome. We're on a biome now. We're going to try to get to another biome, preferably this thing called a crawlerway or the vehicular assembly building, but if something goes wrong, I'll take anything. So let's go ahead and launch. Okay, I just do a little tip. Just a little tip. And then, as before, while I'm still having forward momentum, I'm going to straighten it out. Okay. Straighten it out. Now I'm going to pause for a moment, and I'm going to do a mystery goo reading. And if all looks good, I'm going to take my crew report here. Okay, looks good. I'm going to let the parachute go. And I'm going to point towards the vehicle assembly building and kind of, I don't know if you saw me wiggle back and forth on the crawlerway. It was just the lightest touch on the rudder pedal. Just the lightest touch. And what I was doing was trying to avoid hitting in this dark green spot or this dark green spot, which is the whole, called the whole complex, which includes this area out here. This is called the apron. You're going to need to know that when you fly airplanes. And then of course that's the ocean. But any land inside the apron and the ocean is our complex grounds. But that's a biome. And inside that biome are these little mini biomes. Like here's one, here's one, here's one, here's another, here's another. There's another one over here. The runway's one. This is the crawlerway. It's one. And what we're going to do here is get a crew report. So we'll get the crew report. We could only get one crew report because we can't transmit yet because they didn't give us an antenna. So, thank you. The other thing I'm going to do is my mystery goo. I'm going to do an EVA, and I'm going to get an EVA report. Now, crew report's the only one we can have one of. All the other stuff we can store in our capsule, and we do that just by either pushing store, by clicking on, and you'll see the store, or we just board and it comes with us. If we have extra redundant experiments, we'll get a warning that says you're about to bring an experiment that's already on board, and you'll say, yes, dump it. And you just throw it away and jump in. You only want one anyway. You can't get credit for two, but that's not entirely true, and you'll understand that later. You'll get a diminished value experiment, like on Mystery Goo, for example. If it gave us 7 points today, next time it's only going to give us probably 1.2 or 2 points, something like that. So we've done everything we can, so let's recover the vessel. And I'm trying to go as fast as I can, but this is a process, and if you're doing it yourself, sitting in the privacy of your own home, to upgrade all the buildings and achieve quite a bit, should take about 2 hours. If it's your first time, it should take 4. Anyway, That's to get to what I call tier 3, and I'll show you that right here. So right now we have 32 science points to spend, and looks like we've got some money, and we've also got some reputation points. Like we went from 0 to 16. Like people think we're really cool now because we launched a rocket into the sky. Yes, do it again. They won't think you're so cool. You're really cool the first time. I could stop at this point and go and let each of my astronauts experience that exact experience that they had trying to hit these various biomes to get more research points. That'd take, each one would get one, so you take a potential of getting, you know, a few more points so you can spend more. But we're trying to fast track this, so we don't want to waste time. So he got his flight. We're going to progress. So since we have experience points of 32, let's go here. We can spend 5 on that. That gives us new parts. 5 on that. That gives us new parts. And lo and behold, look, it's more expensive now. Now I have 22. I can spend it on 20, 18, or 15. Now what I want right here is this science experiment. This is going to accelerate the process. You could take this one and you'll accelerate your progress in terms of what you can do quickly, but you won't be getting your science as fast, which is going to affect your next step. And what I meant by the third tier is 1, 2, 3. By the end of the 4th mission, you should have everything here and over, and possibly one of these, maybe more. Let's just see what we can do. So right now, I'm going to research this one for the barometric pressure data. All right, as I leave there, I need to get a new mission, which we're going to leave escape the atmosphere, which is 70,000 meters or 70 kilometers. And we're going to try to orbit Kerbin. That is not going to happen this time, but will next time. But we're going to accept the mission now. The reason is because they advance us a little cash, and we can use that. And let me show you what we can use that on. Okay, so we got to upgrade these facilities. I don't know if I need to upgrade this just yet, but I might rather upgrade this one and see what money I have left. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to try it this way. Usually I upgrade this one in first, but now I can perform extra vehicle. Yeah, let me show you what happens when we upgrade. So before we upgraded, we were limited to like 6 Kerbals. We could not preform EVAs unless we were on Kerbin, on the ground. But now we can preform it in the air, and now we can place flags too, which would be create waypoints for us and to return and for general prestige. So we just upgraded our astronaut complex. It's like, I guess we trained ourselves. So let's just go in there for a second. You can see that Bill has experience, no one else does. They have a combination of courage and stupidity, which will allow them to endure more gravity. Now, the one thing about a couple of these, which would be Jeb and Valentina, and I don't know about these two, but they're what we call badasses. So if you're a badass, you're just better. I can try to show you a pilot over here. See, 5.8, 1.24, and this is 6.7, 2.2 in endurance and max sustainable G, which is pretty important for pilots. So it must mean that they're like really strong, really tough, heavy constitution, heavy endurance. We'll get out of here. But now we can have 12 astronauts because we upgraded that. Our next upgrade should be here. But if we look at this, our max weight is 18 tons and our max vessel size is 20 meters, or 21.2. So we'll come back in here. I'll keep that. I'm going to program my parachute though to 6, 1250. And then I'm going to add to it another parachute, which is called a drag chute, which I'm going to have 2 of those. And I'm going to program them 4, 5, and 1650. Alright, so now everything else we got to build from the ground up. You know, I might as well have a heat shield. Might as well separate your craft for return. I'm hitting Shift Q, and that made a subtle turns. And then that's easy to count 4, right? And then you'll need an engine. Okay, I'm just going to stick that on the bottom temporarily. I'm going to yank that science experiment off. No, I'm not. I'm going to take that off because I don't like the small one. I like the big one. But I need a stage separator between them. So you can do that. You can build rockets, come back and go pop that off, pop this on. Okay, at this stage I think I want to name it Z1. I'm just going to hit save in case I hit a wrong button. They don't have to do all that work again. So let's see where we're at. We're at 13 parts. We can do a lot more to this. Okay, so I'm basically going to steal these fins off, throw that away. Let's have 3. Now you can put them a little higher on the center of gravity, which you can see by pressing that. If you want to see the center of lift, that's that. This is the center of thrust. More important in airplanes than rockets, because usually the center of thrust is straight out the back of the rocket. Lift is straight up, and the only thing you really use here is center of mass, and that's to prevent something called roll. And these fins are to help guide us in a straight line. And if they're at the bottom, they're less effective than if they're here. But be advised, this does move, and I'll show you as the gas runs out. So, thus, closer now, so when it's far away later, it won't be so detrimental, rather than the more extreme. So raise those fins a little. Alright. Why on earth do we do this? We do this for science. Put that there. Let's put that there. And I wonder if we can have 2 of these for balance. Alright, am I still safe? Everything is well under. And I can perform extravehicular EVAs. So if I get into space, I'll do it. And that'll allow me to grab science for the spacewalk in this mission as opposed to the next mission. So I guess let me just think for a minute. Don't forget your staging. So we can combine these, so that will, when I fire that, this will automatically come on. And the parachutes are pre-programmed. Remember I did that, so they can just go in this one. They'll fire themselves automatically when they hit the atmospheric, beyond the restrictions I've given them. And then they'll open automatically. That way if your pilot's unconscious or dead or anything, the parachutes will open on pressure altitude measurements. We do have manual if those fail, but believe me, if those fail, your manual switch isn't going to work and you're doing something wrong and you're probably going to die. So, good thing is you don't die, you just kill Kerbals, which makes me feel really bad. Even though they're inanimate, the whole idea is to keep these little boogers alive, safe, content, and comfortable. And they will let you know. So, we're going to escape the atmosphere. I apologize if you can hear that lawnmower in the background. I should do these videos late at night in the dark. I've got all kinds of glare. This room's so bright, but I like bright. Alright, so why did we bring the engineer back? Okay, this is where you can revert. You just hit your escape button and revert flight to vehicle assembly. And that's when you say, oh, I made a mistake, stop. And you don't have to go through the time. So what we were wanting to do was put our scientist in this time. And the reason is just because, and if they don't work, if they fail to do it, we will let one of the pilots do it. But I like the scientists to get experience, and this is a really good time to do it. I should have done something just a little different. I should have launched from the desert facility and gotten some additional points. But you know, we've never been here on this pad, so we're going to log pressure data. I mean, we've never been here with a thermometer and a pressure data. We were here with the mystery goo, so we're going to log the temperature. And this is why I brought the scientist. Look, observe mystery goo. Normally it wouldn't be worth it for 0.2, but I will keep that, and this is why. So now the scientists can come out and they will collect the data. Now they're the only ones that can do this. They'll collect the data from the mystery goo, and then they can actually hit a restore button. And look, now you can use it again. The pilot can't do that, the engineer can't do that, only the scientist can do that. So now our next goal will be to maybe take some readings at what we call upper atmosphere. Now you realize that this is set up like the planet Earth, meaning that this is one stage of atmosphere. This is what we call thick air. It's getting thinner. This is thin air, and now we're approaching vacuum, the upper atmosphere. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 levels of atmosphere before we actually hit space. And they're of, look, you can see they're of different thickness, different levels. And what is holding these down? What's this? Gravity, guys. Gravity holds our atmosphere down. Okay? That's it. It's amazing. Anyway, may the laws of the universe always grant us gravity appropriate for our mass. Thank you. So, anyway, so one of the things they did in the last major update, which was not DLC, was gave us this. This is above ground level and above sea level. Kerbalers before had to know the thickness of the shell on various planets and their relationship to sea level. Or we just had to open our eyes and not, you know, go below the deck. So, anyway, we want to stand on the deck, not crash into it. So we just used to look and use shadows and all kinds of other stuff, but now we have quality instrumentation. We also had mods that would tell us, but mods are always a pain because when they upgrade, you have to upgrade the mod, and if the modder's behind and he probably has a day job and a family, and if it's mods complex, a guy named Linux Guru Gamer has a bunch of mods. I can only imagine what he has to go through. But I mean a bunch. Like basically he rewrote the game in so many ways. Scripter extraordinaire. Wonder if he's a script kiddie or a code monkey. I'm not really sure. But anyway, I just call all programmers he. Shame on me. So let's fire this off and try to reach 70 kilometers. We can kick this on. This feature is locked, but this will show us something. Alright, solid boosters, and you can see we have our feet, and what we're trying to achieve is at 2,300 meters, 200 meters per second, between 100 and 1,000. So I've just hit 200 meters a second. I've hit 23 and I'm above that, and I'm well on my way to 1,000. Alright. So now I got to try to control this rocket, and this is the scientist. I don't have good control. I'm having to coax this thing. I don't know if you can hear my controllers rattling in the microphone. So basically you want to try to stay in the green, because if you get out of the green, your tail end starts to push around, and it's like jackknifing a trailer, or your back end is moving faster than your front end. So if you get into a tumble and a spin, and then the what we call the shifting of the it's like spinning momentum and the shifting of the mass because you're off center, then you go into a topple tumbling effect. Now we're going for 70,000 and we just hit that, and I'm going to stop at 79. And this is what I call the elevator ride. This is the free ride up. Now we're going to put our ship in position for the future, and this is so we don't come back straight down like an arrow. We need to create some form of sideways motion. It's about ablation and other things. So while we're still at 50, we're going to observe the mystery goo. Okay, we're going to keep that. We're going to do an EVA, get an EVA report. Board. I'm going to do pressure data, keep. Log temperature, keep. EVA, take data, collect data, remove data, restore, board. I've just gone over 70 on my way to 80. I'm now officially in space. Log temperature, log pressure data. Now this gives us comparative data, like we can know the difference between high atmospheric data and space data. So we're going to do an EVA report again. While we're out here, we collect, take, collect, remove data, restore. I won't use it. It might blow up on re-entry. And before we hit 80, before this comes down to 0, I'm going to give myself gas and send myself in. Burned all my gas, sending myself sideways. Let me show you what that did. So instead of a steep parabola coming down like this one's a little more subdued. So let's go ahead and destage here. And we won't have any more science to do until we land. Now, the way this is set up, it's teardrop shape. So without control, this particular shape should, as it hits atmosphere, of course, we're not in atmosphere, but as it hits atmosphere and resistance, it then dips into what we call the gravity well, because we're being pulled by it now anyway. But when we hit the atmosphere portion of the gravity pull, it should naturally take the heavy part and put it on the bottom and take the light part and put it on the top. So this would be our leading edge by design. and it's called a teardrop shape. Could be a raindrop. It's a droplet. Anyway, it's one of the most stable, strongest, pressure-resistant shapes on the face of the planet, in the universe. Some very interesting studies have taken place with teardrops made of glass and how they can resist tremendous pressure before they explode, versus, you know, another shape just fly apart like industrial perfection, so to speak. Now, the blue over here shows our parachutes have been initiated. So essentially what we're doing is falling in the atmosphere, creating resistance. You can see the teardrop shape is settling and it's bouncing in. And if I pull it out a little, like this, and pull it out manually, it returns very quickly. Bobbles, spins like a top, so to speak, and then settles in. Now, as we're coming into different levels of the atmosphere, this is medium air. When we hit the thick air here, it should slow us down drastically, but we're light enough already that our parachute should open. Now, there's orbital speed and there's surface speed. I believe this is how fast are you plunging towards the surface, and this is how fast you're traveling. I'm not really sure the difference. I use them both, but in this application where I'm coming back to the planet, I always use this application. When I'm traveling in space or doing orbits, I use my orbital information. And sometimes I've gotten them confused before. And thought I was going to die and then laughed. Alright, so this is pretty good. 6-7 meters per second. This is actually designed to withstand, without harm to anything, a 7 meter per second drop onto land. Into water, you got a bigger cushion, okay? Things break, Kerbals don't die, but you will have broken parts or something will explode, which could eventually cause a chain reaction. So your whole goal should be between 4 and 8 meters per second descent rate, depending on the sensitivity of your equipment. And if you're landing a craft with legs with springs, you're going to get a thing called bounce. So you need to be soft, because you know the 4 meter per second bounce sends you 4 meters per second in the opposite direction, plus your inertia of your momentum, and depending on the gravitational force of the particular planet you're in, a 4 meter per second bounce can just either tip you or shoot you right back into the... Now, Gilly might send you back. The moon's probably going to tip you over. If you go to the moon, I recommend 1.5 or 0.75, somewhere in there, on your touchdown with springy legs. And that is as if your craft is heavy and your legs are small and super springy. It's more important. If you have big landing legs, you'll just like shock absorbers. But we always push the limits. Now, at 300 meters above, I'd like to direct you to the greater than arrow. It's also the greater than, less than arrows are also your period and your commas. Now, when I push this, this will warn me on big vessels, and then watch, I can just accelerate the time to touchdown. I don't like to touch down at speed, but I'll take it to 30 meters or so and then back it off. And then there we go. Parachute automatically detaches, and you do have some buoyancy. This is probably the first time we've been in water, so we're going to do science. Yes, it is. It is the first time we've been in water. I've been here with you the whole time. I play so much of this, I sometimes forget where I'm at. Crew report. And it looks to me like we failed to do a crew report in space. So they owe us one. I think my memory, that's either like 10 or 15 points. Could be, I'm not sure. Usually when I say that, it's 12. So without knowing how much experience I lost, I just got 2 because I didn't put an antenna on my vessel. But in the next mission, we will put an antenna on the vessel, hopefully a battery, and we will be able to transmit crew reports and make up for all the lost crew reports that we've never sent, like space, low atmosphere, in any place we have failed to send a crew report. We did get one out of the water, so let's return and recover and see how big a jump we've made. Now, we did exit the atmosphere, so we got paid for that. We're going to get reputation. See, science 130. We made 103, but we had 7. So the other 20 I got probably came from completing a mission. I was just awarded some type of science knowledge accumulation. This is the money I get back for parts, about 5,000. That's the funds I have now. So I definitely have been paid something. And he gained a full experience point. So it's all good. At this time, I'm just going to grab this building that I wanted to upgrade and upgrade that. I wanted to do that. I'm going to evaluate the money I have. We still have escaped the atmosphere here, so unless you want to try to grab another one while you're up there, you have to be careful, because if you don't complete it, it's going to block your slot from doing another one. So this isn't too bad. Test the heat shield at the launch test. Perform the test. Use the run test option. So this will be the heat shield at the launch site. We can do that if we don't forget. And we have 130 science to spend. It's not going to be a lot. It'll spend quick. So you go 20 here. I want this booster. And then I have to be careful not just to spend money instantly, because I like this advanced rocketry. This Terrier engine helps me escape the atmosphere. And I also like the battery. And does it have a solar panel? No. And the science experiment here. And we can also create unmanned craft with this Staputnik. I don't know what you call these. Autopilot devices. Remote receiver. Relay control input. Yep, that's what it is. A remote relay controller. So, if I spend 45 here, I'll have 20 left and I can have that. So I'll go ahead and do that. Come back here. I could have lived without that, but I like these wings and I have to have that. So everything's right on schedule. Had we got a crew report from space, we would have 10 instead of 2. Not a big difference. And we'll catch that crew report next time we're up there. We'll have batteries and antennas and be able to transmit it back, and we won't be precluded from collecting any further crew reports. So moving on, I have 167. The next upgrades we will be doing will be this building, and that's at 150. So if I build my craft for 17, I will come back here and do that, but I have to build the craft for 17. And this is interesting because we're going to use elements of this. I'll keep that for later. Possibly that. That's scrap. And we'll just keep that one like it is. I am going to change the color though. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is find a gas tank. Probably something like that. I told you I wanted my Terrier. This is my final stage. That'll be the orbiting stage. And then I'm going to need 1, 2, 3 of those. T45. I can't use the T30 because I don't have controlling fins yet. But that would be a more powerful, more effective engine. But it's okay, we don't need power and effect just yet. I'm going to just set this to the side for now, just so I don't have to come back and get it. With 3 of these, put it just a little off center, grab that in the middle, set it there, make sure it's square. Alright, it's below the bottom. I don't like that, so I take this like this, I clamp it onto that, and I move it down just a little. Alright, now you can see the nozzle won't be damaged and the solid rocket boosters can be a nice resting point. You need these. I'm going to change this back to 1. Grab a battery. I'm 3 parts from a problem. Let me grab an antenna. Check it. Works. And I can have 2 more parts. So I have all the science I need, maybe. Let's go ahead and put a science part on there. And that's it. No more parts. I can have 1 more of something, but I don't know what that would be. Just go through it. Battery. We will have 2. Not 3, 2. That turned us red. Alright, so saving. This is Z12. And I'm going to check my staging. You should do this before every launch, just in case it's saved wrong or you set it up on the launch pad different and it didn't save to your main craft in the vehicle assembly building. So you should always check that. Now we're going to try to achieve orbit. I'm going to do something just a little bit different. I'm going to go to the Desert Launch Flight Facility. And we're going to have to put a pilot on board too for this one. We just don't have a choice. Which is going to limit our ability to use, but I'm going for space material reading in space. I think that's 25 points. It's worth it. And the other thing we needed to know is, did I spend 16,497? So this is saved. We're going to leave. And I have to have 16,947 after this upgrade. If I upgrade at 150, I'll have 17,202. Alright, I didn't make a math mistake, so So what we've done now is we've upgraded 2 Kerbals and 3 buildings, or 3 biomes, at the Kerbal Space Center. Now, 3 building upgrades, incredible. At the end of this, we're going to have 3 Kerbals upgraded. So, and we should have some pretty good money. One thing we can't forget to do is to run our heat shield test at the launch site. I'm not going to mess around with the desert launch site. If you want to go to the desert launch site, you can pick up like 7, maybe 11, 13 extra science points, which is if you're really trying to be super precise and get every little bit. Go to Baikonur, Boomerang, go to the launch site. Boomerang, huh? All right, that's the Baikonur launch facility, and so our launch facility's right on the launch pad. The Boomerang's at about the 38th parallel, and the desert launch facility is about 7 degrees south or 10 degrees south. Space people know that if the best place is on the equator, traveling with the rotation of the planet. You get everything's helping you. So that's why we go out 90 degrees, not 270. We can go opposite 270, opposite 90 to 270, but it'll just burn more gas to achieve the same thing. And then the Earth will be spinning one way and you're ripping around the orbit the other way. It's actually, I don't know. It's probably pretty normal. Get them going. Should have one going both ways, I guess. All right, so what we're gonna do is launch. Good luck. Godspeed. Yeah, I did opt for an extra battery. If I would not have taken an extra battery, I may have taken an extra fuel tank. I could have always made this one larger rather than take an extra one. So it's just parts count. Anyway, since we have a pilot, let's go ahead and press that. And let's just do this. So we're going to let these rockets burn us all the way. We're probably going to fall just short of the line, maybe 10,000 meters, and then we'll just have to use the next phase to put ourselves into orbit. And, okay, so you'll just see. So let's watch these solid rocket boosters burn. Once again, 200 meters per second at 2,300 feet. Between 100 and 1,000. So we have reached 200 there at 1,600, and at 2,300 we were about 5 to 750. We're doing 3 already. Everything is good. We're ahead of schedule. So I'm going to turn the gas on a little bit, and this will be so it won't be such a shock to the forward motion when the separation occurs. Separation. And we also steered our way out of the way a little bit. Now you can see our speed falling backward, but you can also see us approaching the 70 mark, and we're almost there. So if I want to, I can green this up to somewhere in there, and when we hit 80, I'm going to stop. Alright, so at this point, I've got all my forward momentum. We call this the elevator ride up. And we're going to place this on 90, 0. So this will be 0 degrees angle, 90 degrees on the compass directional. And Usually what I'm doing is I'm waiting for 70, but since I have my observatory open, I have this number now, and I don't want that to get below 30. So whatever comes first, 30 seconds or 70. Looks like 70 is coming first. And then I give it all the gas in the world. Now let's watch what's happening to the parabola. You can see instead of a sharp parabola, it's becoming softer now. You see we're 35 seconds away, 34 seconds away. Let's go back to here. When we hit 30 and we start going backwards to 29, there's a couple ways we can remedy that. One is to start to tip the pitch, like to 10 for example. This is sending us up, but it's also froze that number. Now it's making it grow. So let's go back down with it. I may not mind 22. These numbers all change. I was using a 30 as like a point of readiness to prepare to start hitting buttons. It looks like we're froze solid at 19, and we're growing. So what we do when we start to grow is we cut back on the gas. We put it on 0, and we're stuck at 22. So pump the gas back even more. 23, pump the gas back even more. So I want this number to start counting backwards. This number's not growing anymore. This number needs to start counting backwards, and I want this one to be the same as this one. Okay. Now our goal is 2250. So at 2250 we stop and we look. Okay, here we come, 2250. Now this is unfortunate because we may have left space debris. All right, I didn't make 2250, but look, 39. I need to get to 70 at the least. So let's just look. We have time. We have 26 seconds to discuss this. See, I have a low periapsis below 40. Okay, when I release this, it's going to fall back into the atmosphere. So there it goes. And then what I have to do here, and I have 5 seconds to do it, is reach 70. 78. Let's put it on 84. All right. So now let's go back and look again. Now I have an orbit that is greater than 70 in the apoapsis or apogee or the periapsis or perigee. Anyway, both are correct. This is probably more correct with orbit, apoapsis, and apogee would be correct in math, in many things, not just planetary orbit. So, AP, big, PE, less than small or before the fact, AP, larger or after the fact. As I return here, you can also see Valentina has something new, which is a dot or a star. That's experience. She's orbited the planet. She also has an ability to have node lock within herself. So an engineer or scientist would have to reproduce this manually. So what we need to do now is our space science, which we came here for this. And we'll keep that. We'll take that back with us. And don't we need to do a crew report? Hallelujah. We can radio that one back. We missed the antenna going down. Maybe we can see it coming back up. Nope. I barely saw it move. I should have put it in position so you could see the antenna retract. Now, I can't just leave this science in here. I have to get it, and I can't reset it, so all I can do is collect, and I can close the doors, and then I'll board. And I think mystery goo. See, it's almost nothing. I'm going to pass. And temperature, already been done. So the pressure data probably has too. So the only thing we have to do now is go back to the Space Center because we have achieved orbit. That's what they asked us to do. The one thing we forgot to do was run our test at the launch facility. We got busy, so we may have to go run a test as a little separate mission. Which I can show you how to do that too. So we goofed. Now we're stuck with the test, and we'll only be able to take on one new mission. So let's go back to the Space Center, and then I'm going to go to mission control and see how much trouble we're in. Alright, so lo and behold, we're not in any trouble at all because they only have one mission for us. It really didn't interfere at all. It may in the future, but as of now it's not. So we've got to orbit. We got enough fuel to return from orbit. Please bring the parts and the Kerbin back alive, and you will be rewarded this money and this money, and we'll give you this money now. So I'll say yes, because we're coming back anyway, and we're coming back alive. So I think at this point I'm going to stop the video because it's a natural place to stop, and I am going to come back for re-entry. And as always, thank you for watching, and if you're interested, come back for the next video, which will bring Valentina back to Earth, and then we will also start to consider traveling to the first moon and maybe achieve orbit. But I don't know how long this has taken us, but we've really knocked the crud out of the first aspects of career mode. And if you don't start like this, then you're going to get into this grind, and you're not going to. You obviously don't know what to do. But if you really know what to do and you know everything to do, then you can get this far. So I hope you did. You might be a little bit behind. I didn't use much time acceleration, so if you want to follow along and do the steps that I do as I did them, that was a good idea. I was pretty much in real time. I didn't have any pauses or blanks. It was an uncut video, beginning to end. I believe those are helpful. I can't follow through the ones where guys say blah 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 and blip when you're somewhere else and you can't catch up. Anyway, just a pet peeve, but thank you for watching, and tune in to episode 2.